What is up, guys? In today's video, I'm going to be going over the new gloves that Fortnite added to the loot pool in Chapter 7 Season 2. As always, if you guys do enjoy this video, find it helpful, informative, or interesting, remember to give it a like, subscribe if you like some more, comment down below which of these gloves you think is better, and if you guys would like to use my code in the shop when getting anything, it is EvolveJake, just like my channel name is, and is underneath the webcam at all times. So, both the Foundation and the Ice King have reached enough rivalry progress to unlock their gloves. In the showdown section of the menu, you can see the progress the community is making towards unlocks, and as you do rivalries in game, you will contribute to whatever faction you chose, unlocking that item in the loot pool. So over the course of the season, we will have more and more things added. The first two are these gloves though. I think these 7 gloves are going to be the more impactful item by far, like an astronomical difference. You can find these gloves just from regular looting, so they're in chests, they're in floor loot, and I have also seen them for sale once in one of the rivalry stations, but it's not like a guarantee it's there. That weapon or item slot kind of like swaps around, but I have seen it for sale in the rivalry stations. And this item is pretty similar to the nitro fist, but it's not exactly identical. But the main kind of use a lot of players are going to have for it is it being a mobility item. So if you have these gloves out and you press your shoot button, you will do a punch in the direction you are moving at the time. So if you're on controller, you push your left stick in the direction you want to go, you hit the shoot button, and you'll kind of do like somewhat of a jump or a dash in that direction. And you can kind of jump and do this, or jump and look up while you do this to go high up into the sky and get more like verticality. And while you're in the air, you can actually look down to get to the ground faster and do a ground pound attack on anybody who's there. And that kind of aspect is similar to the nitro gloves from Chapter 5. Another thing that's similar to the nitro gloves is that your aim down sight button will do an uppercut, which will get you much more verticality than just the regular dashes. And so if you're trying to get up and out of there, you might want to like quickly uppercut and then do the regular dashes to travel more like horizontally. And if you hit an enemy with this uppercut, you will knock them into the air as well, and making it very easy to fry them, especially, you know, with the Thunderburst SMG having incredibly accurate hipfire. It's going to pair really well with these gloves, just how the Thunderburst and Nitro gloves did in Chapter 5 Season 3. One really nice thing about this item is that fall damage is not going to be a factor with it. So if you're the person using these gloves, you can dash around high up in the air and not really worry about, you know, taking fall damage. But also, if you're the player who gets uppercut and launched into the air, you still aren't going to have to worry about fall damage, which I think is a really nice thing. If you could just uppercut people, launch them, and then get fall damage kills that way, that'd be pretty annoying. And I feel like we kind of experienced that somewhat with the Kneecapper Bat and the Typhoon Blade from Chapter 6, so it's nice to see that this doesn't cause fall damage. These gloves have 4 charges at a time, and after you use an ability, it will take 11 seconds for a charge to come back. And it also only has 20 charges total per glove that you find. So if you use it 20 times, it's going to break and you're going to have to go find a new one. It also seems from my experience that when you eliminate somebody, their gloves drop with the same amount of uses it had when they were using it. It doesn't drop full uses like some items in the past have. Like ever since they've added durability or like items having a certain amount of uses, there's been items where, you know, if you eliminate somebody and you pick it up, it's full. And then there's been some where you eliminate somebody and pick it up and it has the exact amount it had for them. And these 7 gloves, they're going to have the exact amount of uses the player had when you eliminated them. So it's not like you could just easily get a refresh every single time you eliminate somebody using them. Overall, though, I think it's a really good mobility item. 20 uses isn't the most, but it's still a really good amount, and the spawn rate of this doesn't seem so low that it's going to be like really hard to find a lot of times. You know, once you're in the like later stages of the game, most of the playable area has probably been looted, so you're not just going to easily find them that way. That's where the kind of non-refresh on kills is kind of unfortunate. But in the early to mid game, you should still be able to find these somewhat consistently and have your mobility items. So I think this is going to be one of the main mobility items to have. If I was choosing between this or the overdrive grenades, I would definitely be taking these gloves unless they were really low on uses. Like if I had gloves with 2 uses or a stack of 4 overdrive nades, I'd probably rather take the overdrive nades. But most of the time, these gloves are going to be one of the higher tier, potentially best mobility item in the loot pool. But most players probably will prefer the Shockwave rocket launcher, or maybe you just carry both. So the 7 gauntlets, I think, are very good. You're going to want to get used to these. You're going to want to take these when you find them. Really good mobility item. The melee aspect of it is there, but it doesn't seem as frustrating to deal with as some of the other melee weapons that we've had in the loot pools. Like I said, it doesn't cause fall damage or anything, so that's a really good thing. The Ice King Gauntlets, like I said, I don't think they're going to be as impactful as the 7 Gauntlets. And one of the main reasons for that is that these can only be found by eliminating the Ice King. It's a mythic item, and so you only get it from eliminating the Ice King, and so there's one of it per game. I found the Ice King at Frigid Fortress, but he doesn't always spawn there. It seems like there's other locations for him on the map, but I don't really know all of the locations where he can spawn at this point in time. Overall, though, I was not really a fan of these gloves, and it's not really something that I would go for or really want to use at all. Like the 7 gloves, you have 2 different abilities with this, depending on which button you press. If you press your shoot button with these gloves equipped, you will send out an Ice Blast, and this Ice Blast will hit for 50 damage. And it does seem to have like somewhat of a blast radius, so you don't always need to hit people directly with it, but the blast radius for getting 50 damage is very small. So you basically need to be on them to get that 50 damage. But if you shoot like the ground right next to somebody, you still might get 50. You can also deal 5 damage if they're within the area of effect, but not close enough to get the full 50. So it's like it has 2 kind of ranges. There's the 5 damage range, which still isn't large, but it's definitely larger than the 50. And then the 50 damage range, you basically need to be right on the person. And this regular attack does have a good amount of travel time and drop, making it not that great at medium to long range. And I think that's where this weapon is really unfortunate, because I think a lot of people are expecting this to be like the water bending. With the water bending from Chapter 5 Season 2, you could shoot across the map no problem. But with this, it has so much drop, and, you know, the travel time isn't the fastest. And so most players just aren't going to sit there and let you shoot them with it in medium to long range. You're going to be more consistent with other items. If you hit the aim down sight button with these gloves equipped, you'll send out a large ice ball that just kind of sits on the ground and damages players around it. And I feel like this is the better use for these gloves. It does have a decent cooldown time after you use that, but this can be good for forcing players out of cover or out of buildings, out of bunkers. It's a very good utility effect that can completely throw the enemy off in certain fights, make it really easy for you to win the fight because you force them out of their advantageous position and potentially force them into a really bad situation. So while this, you know, area of effect denial thing can be really good, it still doesn't make me want to carry the gloves because the cooldown time on it is pretty long. And I mostly play solos, and so carrying an item like this just strictly for utility isn't the greatest choice most of the time. So I think if you were playing like, you know, squads or maybe even duos, having somebody carry these gloves can be pretty helpful because then you can get that area of effect ability. In certain fights, it'll be really advantageous. But in solos, it's hard to carry more situational items like that because you only have your one inventory. And when I look at these gloves as just a weapon, I don't think it's as good in close range as something like the pistol or the Thunderburst SMG. And I don't think it's as good in medium range as something like the Nemesis AR or the Combat AR. And it's certainly not as good at long range as the DMR. So it doesn't really have any range, I feel like, where it's like, okay, that's really good. I feel like in every single range, it's just not that great. And then it has a really good utility effect, which can be helpful in certain fights. But as I said, it's hard to justify those more situational items in solos. And so I don't really see myself wanting to take the Ice King Gauntlets. In squads, I could see it being a bit different, though, because you have, you know, 20 inventory squads. You have 20 inventory spots in squads. And so you can, you know, have one person have this and then pull it out in those really important moments. But that is going to be it for this video. Ice King Gauntlets, very situational, not that great of a weapon in my opinion, not really worth going for. 7 Gauntlets, you're going to find it really easily. It's a really good mobility item. And even though it only has 20 uses, that's still more than what you're going to get from a lot of the other mobility items in the loot pool this season. But let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. As always, if you guys did enjoy this video, find it helpful, informative, or interesting, remember to give it a like, subscribe if you'd like to see more, comment down below what you think of these gloves, and if you would like to see me make more videos like this as we get items introduced to the loot pool from these kind of showdown rivalry progress, because I think I might just make a video every time we get like 2 or something like that. But let me know what you guys think. If you enjoyed this, give it a like, and I will see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.